You don't seduce by chasing. You seduce by commanding your own space. This is the truth most men never learn. Women are not drawn to the things you say or the clever lines you deliver. They don't fall for good intentions, nor are they swayed by polite performance. Their attraction begins long before a single word is spoken. It's formed in the silence, in the reading of your energy, your posture, your stillness, the way you hold your presence in a room. Before you even speak, she knows whether you are a man of substance or just another one hoping to be picked. The tragedy is that most men destroy their presence the moment they try too hard to prove they have it. When you force a smile, push a conversation, chase a reply, or try to fix a silence, what you transmit is not confidence. It's urgency. When you show interest too fast, when you ask if she's upset, when you over-explain or try to be endlessly available, it doesn't feel like maturity. It feels like emotional neediness disguised as affection. Haste is not charm. Attention is not always strength. And urgency in a man triggers the primal instinct in a woman that he lacks value on his own. She may not know why, but she feels it, because that behavior screams of a man who is addicted to validation. Every look, every like, every reply becomes your emotional currency. That combination of rejection fear and approval craving forms an anxious energy, and nothing repels magnetism more than anxiety. Attraction doesn't grow from a man begging for connection. It grows from the one who doesn't need it to stand tall. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the part of yourself you hide, your fear of rejection, your need for approval, your desperate inner boy wanting to be liked. But here's the irony. The more you try to hide it, the more it leaks through, in your eyes, in the tone of your voice, in the subtle shrinking of your body. You don't say, "Please like me," but your body does. And a woman doesn't need to be a psychologist to feel it. Scientific studies now confirm what experience has always taught. Women perceive calm, selective, centered men as more attractive than those who show immediate interest. The man who sits with his own silence, who doesn't rush to fill every space, who reads a room before he enters it, transmits value before he opens his mouth. The man who panics at stillness, who rushes to please, who anxiously explains himself at the slightest hint of uncertainty. This is the man who hasn't chosen himself. And if he hasn't chosen himself, why should she? Attraction is not a prize for effort. It is not earned by intensity. It is earned by presence. Most men enter interactions as candidates, not as forces. They walk in hoping to be picked, evaluated, graded. But women do not respond to those who seek approval. They respond to those who already carry it internally. Evolutionary psychology backs this up. Charm, looks, or cleverness don't come first. Emotional stability does. A man who is grounded, who isn't shaken by silence or the potential of rejection, triggers a biological safety cue in a woman. She doesn't have to consciously understand it. She just feels it. That's why the man who's too eager, too fast, too desperate to prove himself, he doesn't feel like a prize. He feels like someone asking to be chosen. And the deeper truth is, women do not want effort. They want direction, not display, but discernment. A man who is selective, intentional, who knows where he is going, he draws in curiosity, not competition, because he's already moving forward. He isn't orbiting around her. And when she feels that, the instinctive filter kicks in. He must be wanted by others. He must have social proof. And suddenly, his silence is no longer cold. It's intriguing. His distance isn't disinterest. It's magnetism. He's not emotionally starving. He's just full enough not to chase. That is why he becomes attractive before he says a word. There is a rule most magnetic men follow without even knowing. The rule of dominant presence. Speak less. Observe more. Let your body arrive before your words. Hold your comfort before showing desire. Slow your movements. They signal mastery. Let silence speak. It signals authority. A relaxed yet expansive posture shows that you are not lost in your head. You are in the room. When you live by this rhythm, everything shifts. You stop chasing and start getting noticed. You stop trying to fill space and begin occupying it. Desire in women always orbits around gravity. Not speed, not need, but center. And this biological reading happens faster than you imagine. Your eyes darting too quickly to hers, your smile showing up too soon, your shoulders curling slightly when she glances at you. Each of these micro-signals betrays your state. Her mind catches every one. Your energy tells her more than your conversation ever could. If your body collapses under her gaze, if your behavior adapts to her mood, then your center is built on sand. And attraction, in its rawest form, rejects instability. Not because women are cruel, but because they are calibrated to detect whether a man owns his space or waits for others to grant it to him. What fuels this insecurity is something few men understand: dopamine dependency. Every like, glance, response you get feeds a small chemical reward in your brain. It wires you into a cycle of approval seeking. And that cycle makes you reactive. You talk faster. You lean in more. You lose rhythm. Your mind races for the next thing to say. You are not connecting. You are performing. But what you're addicted to is not her. It's the feeling she gives you. And when a woman feels like she is being used for emotional regulation, not desired for her essence, she pulls away. Because that doesn't feel like masculine desire. It feels like need. The man who truly attracts moves at his own pace. He does not conform to the chaos of the room. He slows the environment instead. He creates a new tempo by existing inside it with total awareness. This is not arrogance. It is timing. It is rhythm. It is knowing when to speak, when to pause, when to breathe. It is claiming space through deliberate presence. The man who reacts has already lost control. The man who leads with silence, with grounded stillness, becomes the one people look to. Harvard research confirms this. Slower speech, longer pauses, minimal filler. These behaviors are read as intelligence, confidence, and power. It's not about being cold, it's about being whole. And the fastest way to internalize this is through a simple technique: the rhythm shift. Speak 15% slower than your surroundings. Let each silence serve a purpose. Don't nod reflexively. Don't fill space with "uh-huh" or "yeah" unless you mean it. Each pause you own becomes a magnet. Each stillness becomes a message. You are not here to be graded. You are here because you chose to be. That shift is not external. It is deeply internal. And when it happens, she feels it without knowing why. Most men sabotage themselves before they even begin. The moment they find a woman they perceive as rare, their entire posture changes. Their tone softens. Their spine shrinks. Their energy collapses into scarcity, as if this were their last chance to be validated. But the female instinct is sharp. It does not respond to need. It responds to value. When you act as if she's the prize and you are the hopeful, your social position drops. Not because she wants to be cruel, but because biology always evaluates strength first. Scarcity in you makes her feel abundance in herself. And that imbalance breaks attraction before it can form. The man who behaves as if he's facing the final opportunity of his life gets discarded, not for his personality, but for what his behavior signals. Social psychology calls this the principle of relative value. When you appear scarce, but act abundant, you rise in status. But when you act scarce in front of what you perceive as high value, your insecurity becomes transparent. You stop being a man of options and become a man hoping for rescue. Everything changes when you stop needing the moment to define your worth. When you own your space, your energy slows. Your eyes relax. Your attention expands. You don't zero in on her as your only chance. You become present to the whole room, and that shift, quiet, unforced, undeniable, alters everything. Because you are no longer performing. You are living in your own rhythm. You are no longer begging for space. You are offering it. And that offering is felt. It is unspoken, yet powerful. Desire responds to presence, not performance. And the man who embodies his presence speaks without speaking. Studies in non-verbal behavior consistently show that women find men who are socially engaged yet not emotionally eager to be more sexually attractive. It's not about being aloof, it's about being fulfilled. A man who knows his place in the social world, who speaks to others, moves confidently through spaces, who does not orbit one person for meaning. This man is read as strong. His interactions aren't a bid for approval, they are a reflection of his internal completeness. And here lies the key. 70% of your attention should be on the environment, not on her. Focus on people, conversations, the atmosphere. Interact with the room before you interact with the woman. Let your body tell the world you are not here to beg. You are here to belong. This isn't manipulation. It's internal alignment. The moment your focus shifts outward, your energy becomes grounded. You're no longer pulling at her attention. You're simply allowing her to step into your world. That is when real seduction begins. When she realizes you don't need her to feel whole, she becomes drawn to the completeness she feels in your presence. Effortless seduction is not about charm. It's not about tactics. It's about the man you become when you stop seeking and start embodying. It's the ripple effect of self-command. It's the consequence of inner mastery. A woman doesn't need to hear your intentions. She feels them in the way you move, breathe, and exist. Desire at its core is not logic, it's biology. And biology reads energy, not words. Presence, not pitch. Rhythm, not reach. Posture, not pleading. Robert Greene once said that true power is influencing without revealing intention. This applies perfectly to attraction. The average man tries to show he is worthy. The magnetic man lets that truth emerge without effort. He does not push. He does not chase. He does not react to the wind. He is the axis. And when you become the axis, everything changes. Your presence begins to communicate more than your speech ever could. You stop being a request and become a reference point. You stop being noise and become signal. And the signal women respond to most is always the same. The silent certainty of a man who knows who he is. Because seduction, in its highest form, is not a line. It's a vibration. It's not about saying the right thing. It's about being the right presence. When you no longer need to prove, chase, or adjust, you become the man women feel before they even look your way. And they will look, not because you pursued them, but because they felt the field you created. You never need to hit on a woman to be desired when you master the most powerful form of communication, the one that needs no words. The final shift comes when you remove her from the center of your internal attention and place yourself there instead. That doesn't mean ignoring her. It doesn't mean being cold, distant, or fake. It means directing your energy toward what deserves to grow, your axis, your rhythm, your self-command. The moment you make that switch, your body language reorganizes. Your movements become less reactive, your voice steadier, your breathing deeper. You stop fragmenting your energy across small signs of approval and begin reclaiming your masculine core. The woman feels this without needing to hear a word. She senses it in the way you look at the world, not just her. She sees it in the way you speak to others without seeking applause. She reads it in the fact that you are not trying to be someone. You already are someone. That identity, rooted in clarity, direction, and inner gravity, becomes your silent seduction. It's not about convincing anyone to want you. It's about letting them experience the quiet certainty of a man who doesn't chase what he can naturally attract. This is where all external tactics collapse. You don't need lines when your posture speaks louder. You don't need perfect words when your rhythm already sets the tone. You don't need proof when your calmness transmits power. Every micro-behavior, the way you stand, wait, observe, and breathe, becomes your signal. A signal that says, I don't need to be liked to feel real. I don't need to be accepted to feel whole. I don't need to be approved to remain grounded. This is the paradox of masculine energy. The less you seek, the more you draw in. And here's the secret few men accept. What she finds magnetic in you isn't what you give, it's what you withhold. Not in a manipulative sense, but in the restraint that comes from knowing you're enough. You don't rush to fix discomfort. You don't react to every cue. You don't contort your truth to gain favor. In that self-restraint, you radiate power. You become the eye of the storm, the calm, silent force around which chaos swirls but never shakes. The man who embodies this knows something others don't. Women do not chase perfection. They chase presence. They chase tension, the slow, unfolding kind that isn't handed out but revealed moment by moment. This tension doesn't come from being aloof. It comes from being centered. It comes from having a deep inner well that isn't dry or desperate. Your words no longer carry the hidden hope of being liked. They carry intention, direction, grounded clarity. And that is what she respects. That is what she remembers. She remembers the man who didn't flinch under pressure. The one who didn't need to win her over, but made her want to know more. The man who didn't try to charm, but who moved with rhythm and quiet self-belief. The one who didn't orbit her validation, but invited her into his world, without force, without need. That man becomes rare, not because he tries to be, but because he's aligned with something deeper than social approval. He's aligned with truth, and truth resonates. It lands in the body before the mind catches it. Women are biologically calibrated to detect congruence. When your body and your words match, when your stillness and your intentions align, when your energy doesn't beg but offers, she feels it. She may not be able to explain it, but she knows it. Because her nervous system tells her, this man isn't acting. This man isn't posturing. This man is rooted, and something about that pulls her in. This is the essence of silent seduction. It is not about denial. It is about control. Not of her, but of yourself. You set the tempo. You define the emotional terrain. You create space, not just physically, but psychologically. You leave gaps, pauses, silences, and those gaps allow her to step forward. Not because you baited her, but because she sensed that you didn't need her to complete you. And that kind of man is irresistible, because he is free. Freedom is the magnet. The freedom to not impress. The freedom to be still. The freedom to let her come to you instead of reaching for her approval. That freedom is the real aphrodisiac. When you're not reacting, when you're not calculating, when you're not performing, you become fully present. And in presence, there is gravity. You don't pull her in with persuasion. You draw her in with stability. She senses that your energy is not desperate, and that alone creates desire. You're not broadcasting need. You're broadcasting fullness. And that fullness is what turns ordinary interaction into magnetic seduction. because she feels it's not about her, it's about you. The way you live, breathe, move. The way you speak with deliberate cadence. The way you allow her to approach instead of trying to capture her. This isn't a game. It's a transformation. A reorganization of your nervous system, your posture, your intent. From the inside out, you become the kind of man who doesn't need to seduce. He embodies it. And that embodiment changes everything. You become a mirror to her instinct. Not a chaser, not a beggar, not a performer, but a grounded masculine presence that reminds her of what's real. Because what's real cannot be faked. Posture can't lie. Rhythm can't be copied. Energy can't be hidden. You either have that silent gravity or you don't. And the way to develop it is to shift your focus from performance to presence, from needing to giving, from chasing to standing still in your own truth. That shift echoes in every move you make. It's not loud, but it's powerful. This is the difference between men who constantly seek attention and men who become attention. One is noise, the other is signal. One reacts, the other radiates. One bends, the other holds. You don't need a new pickup line, you need a new internal rhythm. One that isn't enslaved by every glance, smile, or response. One that stays the same, anchored, observant, deliberate, even in silence. Silence is not empty. Silence is dense. Silence is where your energy communicates things your words never could. When you can sit in silence without fidgeting, without rushing, without needing the next moment to validate you, she feels it. That kind of presence is rare, and that kind of man is unforgettable, because in a world of men trying to be seen, he is the one who makes her want to look. And when she looks, she sees something different. She sees a man who does not chase attention, but commands it by how deeply he inhabits himself. A man whose world is already full, and who doesn't invite her in to complete it, but to share in it. That difference is everything. That shift is the entire point. Seduction isn't about convincing her to want you. It's about becoming a man she cannot help but feel drawn to. This is not a trick. It's a discipline, a way of being that strips away the noise and returns you to your center. It's the power of self-mastery in a world of self-abandonment. When you govern your own nervous system, your breath, your energy, and your gaze, you create a frequency that cannot be ignored. And women, whether they know it consciously or not, respond to that frequency. They respond to the man who is no longer looking for himself in their approval, who doesn't crumble when met with silence, who doesn't need to fill space to feel significant, who doesn't shrink when he's not immediately validated. They respond to the man who holds space, calmly, confidently, cleanly, the man whose stillness has weight, the man whose silence has substance, the man whose presence speaks volumes before he ever says a word. And this is the point where everything inverts. She chases without feeling like she's chasing. She leans in without knowing why. Because you've done the one thing most men never do. You've stopped orbiting around desire and started being the source of it. There's a simple but brutal truth about attraction that many men avoid. Desire never chases noise. It chases magnetism. And magnetism, by its nature, is always silent. It's the energy you hold when you're not performing. It's the gaze that doesn't beg. It's the voice that doesn't rise to fill awkward space. It's the way your presence says, "I belong here," without needing a second opinion. That energy is what makes her want to come closer, to figure you out, to be near without knowing exactly why. When you become that presence, everything changes. You no longer look for validation with every word. You don't scan her reactions to calculate your next move. You don't shift who you are depending on who's watching. Instead, you move through the world like a man with nothing to prove. And that posture, stable, relaxed, observant, tells her more than any compliment ever could. It tells her you've chosen yourself, that you are no longer waiting for someone else to do it for you. Because here's what most men get wrong. They believe seduction is something you do to someone. But it's not. It's something you become. You become the man who others want to be around, not because you chase them, but because you've cultivated something valuable within yourself. You don't beg to be seen. You make presence your language. And in that presence, you create tension. Not the anxious kind, but the kind that makes her heartbeat quicken just a little. Because something about you is unshaken. You're not afraid of silence. You're not trying to impress. You're not pretending not to care. You genuinely don't need her attention to feel real. That absence of need is not arrogance. It's clarity. The clarity of a man who's not reacting to the world, but shaping it by how he moves through it. And that level of control, of emotion, of attention, of space, is what she instinctively responds to. The woman does not want a man who constantly reaches for her. She wants a man whose world is already moving forward, with or without her. A man she can admire not for his intensity, but for his consistency. A man who knows how to hold his own energy so well that others feel grounded just by being near him. That's why women remember the man who says less, but feels more real. The man whose every gesture is deliberate, whose every word carries weight, whose silence creates the space for her to enter instead of demanding it. True seduction is not persuasion, it's invitation. It's the soft but powerful pull of someone who is already whole. And that's what changes the dynamic completely. You no longer seek entry into her world. You offer her a glimpse of yours. And if that world is solid, rich, and rooted in something deeper than performance, she'll want to step inside. Not because you asked, not because you tried, but because the energy itself was undeniable. This is the end of chasing. This is the birth of gravity. And gravity cannot be forced. It is earned through discipline, through self-observation, through the decision to stop outsourcing your worth to the reactions of others. When you finally stop seeking from the outside what must be owned on the inside, you shift. You breathe slower. You think clearer. You become selective. Not because you're better than anyone, but because you finally understand the difference between movement and meaning. You don't follow her attention. You let her wonder why yours isn't desperate. You don't adjust your truth for temporary connection. You hold your truth and let the right connections form around it. You don't chase the next chance to prove yourself. You realize you already are what you were trying to become. And in that realization, your nervous system settles, your mind quiets, your posture aligns, and your silence begins to speak louder than ever before. Because the real language of attraction isn't verbal, it's energetic. It's the posture of your soul when no one is watching. It's the look in your eyes when you're not performing. It's the tension you hold, not from fear, but from purpose. She feels it before she can name it. And by the time her mind tries to explain it, her body is already responding. This is what makes some men unforgettable, without saying anything remarkable. Their energy is simply undeniable. The ones who don't flinch when silence grows. The ones who don't need constant engagement to stay steady. The ones who don't crumble when not immediately noticed. These are the men women remember, because they represent something deeper than charm. They represent self-mastery. They are tuned to a different rhythm, the one that doesn't skip when things go quiet, the one that doesn't collapse under pressure, the one that remains slow, grounded, and in full control. You don't become this overnight, but the first shift is internal. You stop asking, How can I get her to like me? And start asking, how can I stay rooted in who I am, no matter who's watching? You shift your attention from response to resonance. You begin to understand that chasing approval is the fastest way to lose presence. And presence is the only thing that creates true attraction. She doesn't need to hear your pitch. She doesn't need to be impressed by your resume. She needs to feel your solidity. She needs to feel that you are not seeking her as a source of identity. She needs to feel that you could walk away at any moment, not as a threat, but as a man who doesn't need anything outside himself to feel whole. That's not indifference. That's emotional sovereignty. And emotional sovereignty is magnetic. It is felt in the way you hold your body, in the way you navigate silence, in the way you make decisions without checking for her approval. She reads all of it instantly, and when a woman senses that kind of power, she leans in, not because she's manipulated, but because her instincts tell her, this man is rare. This man leads himself. Attraction doesn't come from the volume of attention you give, it comes from the intensity of the reality you offer. It's the difference between a man who needs her to feel significant and a man whose significance already exists. One pulls for something to complete him, the other moves with a quiet invitation to explore what he's already built. And that is the final transformation. You stop chasing outcomes and start becoming the outcome. You stop reaching for her attention and become the kind of man whose energy makes her offer it willingly. Because she doesn't just want a man who is available. She wants a man who is valuable. Not by how much he says, but by how deeply he exists. Not by how loud he is, but by how steady he feels. In the end, the most seductive men are not the ones with the best words. They are the ones who mastered silence, the ones who learned to hold tension, the ones who understood that their energy was the message, and their presence, the invitation. You don't need to be the funniest. You don't need to be the best looking. You don't need to be the most charming. You need to be real, whole, and unmoved by the pressure to perform. Because when you are, everything shifts. You become the gravity in the room. You become the center she orbits, not because you asked her to, but because she couldn't help it. That's what silent seduction truly is. Not a technique, not a performance, but the natural consequence of a man who stopped begging, stopped chasing, and started living from a place so grounded that his energy speaks what his mouth never has to. And that, more than anything, is what she desires.